Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. Hopefully this audio is loud and clear for you guys. Upper left hand corner we have EGAxslav as the blue terran, bottom right hand corner we have EGStrifeCro as the yellow zerg. And this is going to be on Shakuras Plateau, which is a really entertaining map, I think. Provides lots of shenanigans. If you're looking for that, I've actually cast this game once before. If you go to justin.tv/DiggitySC, you can see me live casting it. I actually wanted to recast it with a higher quality. It's a little bit difficult to take the FLVs off just in TV and then transfer them to YouTube and get kind of the quality and compression and also the start and stop time. I'll figure that out eventually. And in the meantime, I hope the audio is loud enough for you. I've gotten a lot of complaints, obviously continuous complaints, about the audio levels. I think mostly for my guess is if that's happened in the past, you guys are on speakers. I'm actually in the description. I have a link to Koss headphones, and those are my recommended headphones. Usually, about all the prior commentaries usually kind of balance the audio for headphone users. Looks like we're seeing a front door blockade for EGAxslav. But anyway, artificially boosted this after the fact with using some basically a program called SOX, which is usually on Linux, but it's awesome for this sort of stuff otherwise. And if anybody knows how to get equalization working on SOX, or if you know what equalization is, please let me know, because I'd like to know what good equalizations are specifically for my voice, and also how to apply those in SOX itself. I still haven't figured that portion out, because I figure if I'm extracting the audio of every commentary to boost the decibel level and then re-inputting it into the video, I might as well be adjusting some of the equalization stuff as well. Although I think it's pretty good otherwise. I'm sure you guys don't mind the soothe and dulcet tones of my voice, as Reddit describes them. For looks like a standard build thus far by Axslav. He is going to be at cross positions. Has put a barracks to the south, and let's see if he. And the problem, a lot of Zerg have been complaining about this in particular because you can build anything up here. There's a lot of dark space to work with. Looks like a natural expansion has been planted from StrieCro. I think he went a 15 hatch, also getting spawning pool alongside, and a drone chasing down that SCV outside of the base. So a lot of space to work with. I think StrieCro is going to end up in a nice economic position to lead, and he's tacking on that extractor as well. So everything very standard for both players. Usually when you see Zerg come into this situation, they end up with a significant economic lead, particularly across positions if they get any sort of scouting information forward. But it's a little bit more difficult again with that front door seal and that build and that marine along that edge, because you never know precisely. And that's the thing for Zerg players. It's difficult when it could be anything, particularly in these early stages of the match. Looks like it is going to be one Rax into command center there from Axslav. Keep in mind, he is actually off racing. He usually plays Protoss, is generally a very low APM player. You actually see he's on an average of 52 APM right here, but an extremely efficient player when it comes to his actions, and I think that makes him really entertaining to watch. Looks like a couple Zerglings already moving out in the field. I think that second Zergling still chasing down that SCV might get a kill here. Yeah, that SCV's not long for life. No! Explosion on the ramp! There he goes. Little nuclear, and even spit out an arm there. Anyway, in the meantime, just two Marines out on the front. Looks like third Marine is being produced. That'll definitely keep any additional scouts from coming in the corner, and it can be somewhat difficult to get additional scouting information, but looks like StrieCro already on top of it is going to have an overlord along this back corner, so we'll be able to see SCVs as they migrate into those mineral piles. Otherwise, I'm trying to think of anything else I want to say kind of during the interim loading up spot. Gonna try to cast more often. I think I've cast League of Legends practically every night last week. Again, you can kind of see the backlogs of that on justin.tv. I'm gonna try to do something actually regularly on Mondays, just general show matches in association with Reddit, and hopefully in the future, splatted circling. And hopefully additionally in the future, I will be able to get the iCast thing going. Just trying to figure out some background audio things. 3 barracks on the front door, it looks like, for Axslav, and then I'll get that going. Actually not finishing that bunker, which is a very vulnerable stage. Well, not as vulnerable, but he doesn't have any scouting information, so he doesn't know if StrieCro is really going in, all in, and I don't know that I like this spine crawler from StrieCro, because, and again, that just shows you that he has no idea what he's going up against. It looks like command center actually going to plop down at that natural, or I should say orbital command, plopping down a couple mules, the SCV's going. This is going to give StrieCro a significant lead, or I'm sorry, Axslav a significant lead economically, bringing up that tab. Just having those additional mules out in the field build can really give a huge boost to saturation, but actually I'm going to have to eat my words here. StrieCro, feeling a complete lack of pressure, has just been pumping nothing but drones, it looks like. In fact, if I bring up the unit count, we'll probably just see, yeah, one zergling. So he's only built a single attack unit this entire time, so perhaps that spine crawler was appropriate, just feeling somewhat uncomfortable pumping all of those drones, being at cross positions, not knowing how many Marines he might be going up against, attacking on 2 additional extractors. So definitely going gas heavy in this portion of the build. Already has a roach worn out, his tech to layer. Let's see what tech he decides to kind of field here. He is getting a couple cautionary roaches. Keep in mind, he still doesn't know what's going on, but axslav actually not dedicated. He hasn't built anything out of these barracks in the meantime. He just the same initial Marines, and it looks like he's actually going for factory builds, a very, very late Hellion build. Wow, very interesting. And tacking on an armory and an engineering bay as well. So blue flame Hellions, and really what this build is this is just anticipating banelings. So it's showing Marines to try to bait banelings, and then more or less going, looks like factories underneath. And StrieCro scouting this at really a perfect time. And let's see if he can run up and even get some contaminate up on these factories, because if he can slow this down, it could be absolutely devastating. In the meantime, bringing up production, you've got a Spire halfway finished. And this is the problem with having all these barracks but not really producing a lot of Marines. Actually, it looks like axslav is supply capped himself, is he's going to be very low on the anti-air category. He's going to have a lot of Hellions out in the field, but it looks like that front door already blockaded by StrieCro, so, and as well as getting an evolution chamber to get some of those upgrades. But the roach is right there, just sitting there like a stalwart wall of linebackers, ready to just absolutely spit away. Basically what axslav was counting on is the cross-distance position, StrieCro feeling comfortable, knowing that it was distance beautiful contaminate right there, to expand everywhere, and then he could run in with his Hellions, do a lot of the damage. But unfortunately StrieCro not playing into his game, instead going directly to Spire, sticking to 2 bases, playing much safer, and as a result I think it's really going to pay off. Really going to pay off. Engineering bay is up, that'll help provide some turrets, but nevertheless axslav with Hellions, which do not do so well against Mulisks out in the field, and nothing but Hellions, and not a lot of Marines to provide some mobility. It looks like that natural expansion is still somewhat vulnerable, doesn't have turrets up just yet. Actually, it looks like it will have a missile turret out in the field, but he's definitely going to lose map control, which is going to open things, and it's actually grabbing 2 more factories, and he really needs to think about Thor production, not actually getting a siege tank, which is really not going to do. He has no anti-air right now, so he's well away from any sort of position where he's going to be able to move out. So StrieCro, by playing a little bit safe, is going to be able to follow this up fairly effectively, also getting the high-sect auto-tracking, opening up that destructible, I'm sorry, axslav getting the high-sect auto-tracking, while StrieCro is opening up the destructible rocks to take his 3rd base. Mulisks in the air, moving forward, and only, it looks like 2 turrets to defend, no Thor even in production yet, just a handful of Marines, and this is a lot of vulnerable territory here. Yeah, just a single Marine right there to engage, and it looks like StrieCro still worrying about a lot of Marines, but once he sees his 4 factories, he might engage these Marines more heads up. In fact, I would not be surprised if he just chews them down. The Marines trying to escape desperately, this SCV trying to build a turret in the background, more SCVs coming off the line to try to protect these factories, but it looks like they're just going to die one after one, sacrificing themselves. Missile turret comes up for half a second just to take 1 shot and immediately collapse. Factory building, but it is very quickly burning. It looks like that tech lab very quickly taken out. Thor's now in production, and just a couple, and that's going to be the only anti-air for quite some time. Hopefully, looks like he's building some Marines as well, but really no protection to defend a lot of this infrastructure. Factory lifting off, backing behind. Another missile turret is in production along that back corner. Maybe axslav will get it up. No, SCV picked off almost instantaneously. So axslav taking a lot of damage. Finally a Thor out to ward these Mulisks away. But in the meantime, StrieCro has expanded. I do like what these Hellions have been doing, just kind of spotting, looking for each expansion, just in case StrieCro had expanded somewhere. And I'm sure I'm saying the names backwards here and there. Whatever. Hellions moving out to the 9 o'clock location. Maybe it was good or not, I don't know. Another Contaminate to slow down that Armory weapons upgrade. So that Overseer just being awesome. More Hellions moving out to look for additional expansions. Just trying to catch StrieCro being a little bit too greedy, but StrieCro playing, again, very carefully, has tons of Harvesters. Looks like 56 versus 46. He's really just completely stopped that Hellion harass. Looks like those Hellions are going to get caught a little bit out in open field by these Mulisks. And the Mulisks, in the meantime, are just on a very confident, very aggressive tear of destruction. But 4 factories building. Looks like axslav does have a couple Thors out. His next problem is just having a mobile attack force to deal with the, it looks like he is getting command center, but he's going to have difficulty, it looks like he's probably going to plant it up here. He's going to have difficulty holding this and his main, because you can just look at the difference there, the distance, and he has nothing but Thors to try to defend it. particularly against heavy mutalisks, which is not the situation you really wanted to be in right here. Looks like level 2 weapons now upgrading. So interesting level 1 Hellion thing. I would have liked to see it against a different Zerg who might have been a little bit more greedy economically, because really that's what he was trying to invoke. Didn't pay off. 2 more additional gas for StrieCro, so going very gas heavy to continue this mutalisk sort of play. But wow, those Hellions being almost completely worthless in the meantime, doing nothing but keeping theoretical expansions down. And how does StrieCro, I actually mentioned this in livecast as well, how does StrieCro know? He just comes in, realizes, oh yeah, there's going to be another expansion right there, no problem. I'm just going to run up, harass it, pick off a bunch of SCVs, and be in the perfect position to take it down. Beautiful play by StrieCro, I have to say. It looks like he's already on his way to high tech. Level 2 weapons for air attack, so probably going to go up to Brood Lord, and Axslav really defending this heavily. He knows he has to buy time across the board to defend either location, so 4 turrets to defend against the mutalisks. Looks like he's also getting a planetary fortress there, tacking on 1 gas. Should get another gas momentarily, because he's in a very expensive style of build. I mean, Thors are not cheap at all. Mutalisks gathering towards the front door. Looks like they might take a dive and not too long from now, just testing the front. Still very idle, still not a lot of Marines out in the field. Looks like they're going to pip. Oh man, tanks just sitting there eating the destruction from above. So nothing for Axslav to defend, and StrieCro with some genius play here, just right there, going in, doing harassment. Looks like he moved a huge amount of roaches up to try to challenge this 12 o'clock base. Unfortunately, that looks pretty solid, honestly. Just repair might be able to defend. Hellions running, running back the protective enclave, getting back home so they won't get rained on from above by gigantic rocks with spikes, more or less. Like, hey, is it raining? Corruptors being produced, Greater Spire also in production, which means one thing: we're going to see Broodlords in not too long. And now that those Hellions are pinned back, a hatchery is being taken. That's going to be 4 hatcheries. 4 StrieCro is also opening up the destructible rocks, upper right hand corner, but it looks like Axslav is well aware and is anticipating this, also tacking down another command center to take an additional expansion. And right now, really, StrieCro doesn't have to attack this, he just has to threaten it, and it's really going to kind of put him in a defensive position. It was like 2 roaches. I like that as well, just putting 2 roaches down there to see what he's up against, and then immediately retreating, not dedicating too much, but again, just keeping that threat there. And it looks like the mutalisks still might be able to dive in this back corner, do some destruction. A ton of corruptors, a handful of roaches moving out, and StrieCro expanding once again. That he knows he has Axslav pinned back into a defensive corner, more or less. Axslav has to play a very slow, methodical game right here, and really what he's relying on is getting, it looks like, level 3 weapons already on the way, getting a lot of Thors out, having them very highly upgraded, and working with that. But StrieCro already at 200 supplies, so he's going to be thinking about doing some attacks here, and all StrieCro needs to do is really saturate everything in the meantime. 3 o'clock base still not taking, so he's really not. And I like the fact that Broodlord's in production now. I like that StrieCro didn't go up and take these aggressively, instead expanding away, so he can still basically rely on the large distance of the map to kind of contain Axslav. I mean, he's got to slowly move across the map, which more or less leaves the opportunity for 2, almost 3 waves of Zerg to just run into it, even if they are just Zerglings or Roaches or whatever units, which can pummel down those Thors, make it very difficult for them once they actually get to the juicy targets, aka the hatcheries and whatnot. Still a Hellion moving back and forth, and just in case a Hellion might slip through the lines, a ton of spine crawlers to defend against that. Sizable engagement now. Looks like it's gathering up. The Thors slowly trying to make their way back around as the Broodlords are engaging against the Hellions right here. Looks like a siege tank's doing more damage than anything to their own units. Level 3 weapons and splash damage, not the best combination, unfortunately. This actually might free up a little bit of supply for Axslav, because the Hellion's not doing anything for him right now. But the siege tanks, is natural expansion, very vulnerable. The Thors trying to make their way out of this corner to try to defend. It looks like it is only a handful of Broodlords, though, being aggressive on the front. Ooh, I think one of them popped right there. Didn't get the best look at it. I guess I could bring up the... I think the health tab really messes things up. And actually, this is the first match I've seen Corruptors really use that corruption ability. Actually going to make these Thors much more vulnerable. I'll actually bring up the health tab for you guys there, so you can just see, well, not any damage happening, but once the damage does happen on those corrupted Thors, it's significantly more, and you can just see it tack down much more rapidly comparatively. But wow, Axslav just at full breach now. StrieCro walking, while I'm trying to show you guys this other stuff. The Roach is just mildly just kind of jogging in and destroying everything here at the natural expansion. It looks like Axslav really has his work cut out for him, but he does have a gigantic Thor army up on the ridge to retake his natural. Didn't lose a lot there. He lost some harvesters, obviously, significantly behind as far as the production count goes, but more corruptors, more broodlords coming out. He has the Thors, yes, but he's going to go up against a very large army that has a lot of supply behind it, honestly. It looks like StrieCro significantly ahead, has tons of harvesters on top of it, has an overseer, it looks like, with a changeling just chilling to blockade that. Lots of creep at the forward position as well. I would say if there's anything I didn't like with StrieCro's play, it's the lack of creep spread. Just a handful of roaches going in with a... Ooh, Planetary Forge actually can range there, it looks like. So these roaches not long for life. Looks like one surviving, but still tacking away at this. Axslav pushing forward into the middle of the map. Looks like he's going to take additional expansion. That changeling doing what it does best, dying. Ooh, that Overseer going to get creamed on hold position as well. But wow, that's a lot of Broodlords at the near position. Looks like 5 more being upgraded. Plenty of Zerglings on top of it. And there's still creep nearby, and there's a lot of damage to be done. This Roach having a field day back here, already up to 9 kills, and more continuing. Axslav very confident, taking another, or building another command center, presumably to take this upper right hand corner. At the same time, StrieCro also taking that 3 o'clock position. And here's a fun situation, the Hellion with just that short range attacking that Roach that is just one less range. Range 4 versus range 5. Sizable engagement though in the middle. Zerglings approaching, Broodlords as well, Corruptors to provide that contamination support, maybe eat some of that damage, but it looks like Axslav is going to focus fire. Zerglings underneath not surviving very long with these wow, Marines actually clearing that out fairly effectively. But a lot of these swords being taken out, a lot of the Marines being taken out as well, and it looks like StrieCro is getting repelled somehow. Perhaps it's the upgrade difference. Level 1 weapons only on those Broodlords. Wow, yeah, just getting knocked out of the sky. And in the meantime, looks like we're seeing a switchback combat shield upgrade, 3 reactors for Axslav to be much more anti-air, realizing he's going to deal with Broodlords and actually tacking down 3 starports. So seeing this transition time, yes, this transition time is going to provide, oops, sorry about that, is going to provide him a lot of anti-air, but at the same time, it's going to leave him somewhat vulnerable in a tech switch. And I'm just going to let it roll, because you know what? Whatever. More Broodlords building in the middle of the map. And I think the one thing missing for StrieCro is just upgrades. 3 o'clock base going to get taken out whilst Axslav simultaneously, and he's crawling his way back into this match. Considering his base was almost breached half a second ago, he's doing a fantastic job of pressing StrieCro back. More Broodlords on the front. Corruptors not morphed yet into those Broodlords to provide support. It looks like they're going to drop some additional contaminate. The Marines getting peeled out, and those doors actually now in full retreat, and very necessarily need to be eating some damage. Looks like level 2 Zerg melee. Yeah, it's really been the upgrade difference. I think that's really kept Axslav in this. But StrieCro has taken another expansion. I still feel like he's in a fairly good place in this match, although economically things looking a lot better. These stores can actually be actually Vikings can be sustained here out of this build, but not as many Thors as he wanted at this stage here, and actually just looking at the flat supply count. Axslav ahead somehow. More Thor. Well, it looks like Suicide Overlords are going to attack and be like, "What's up? I'm just going to sit on top of you with spread creep, make you feel gross." But the Thor's not having anything of it, just going to attack right there. Ooh, that's a lot of Broodlords moving forward. There are the right units there to deal with them. There are the Thors, there are the Marines, but still, and oh, Vikings right there as well. But no Vikings in production just yet for Axslav. It's going to be really, really close. Level 2 plating also coming, and that'll definitely play a factor here if Axslav can just hold out. Roaches up to just pound away at the Thors as well. The Thors absolutely melting. Broodlords up above, destroying everything underneath. Vikings are there, but not yet. In the meantime, it looks like the Roach is just wandering forward, and Axslav, let's see if he's going to lose his Planetary Fortress. Already has a ton of SCVs off the line. Looks like several to, I assume several to repair. Unfortunately, the Broodlings can just sit and block out those SCVs from the repair position. Looks like he's actually group preparing the starport, try to keep up. Thor's on the high ground, now damaging those Broodlords, and the Vikings look like they will spawn, but will they last in the air for all that long with all of these Corruptors nearby? Continue attacks. Looks like I'm missing some. I actually missed the 3 o'clock attack here. Looks like Axslav, while all this was happening, just decided to attack along. Ooh, I'm actually going to rewind that because that's significant. So while this is all happening, while all this craziness is happening right here, you have the Thors moving out to the 3 o'clock base. speed it up a little bit, and then slow it back down. And nothing to defend, because StrieCro's completely distracted. I assume, yeah, there was a base there that got taken out not too long ago. So the Thors, even though they're a defensive position, this is actually going to work out, because all of the, more or less the complete reinforcement point for StrieCro has been cut off by just 2 Thors, and it looks like he's actually bleeding Overlords on top of it, and more Thors marching down from the far right corner. So StrieCro really can't dedicate too much to this attack. He's actually having to pull back with Thors right at his natural expansion. It looks like engaging only spine crawlers, and yeah, and that basically saves axslav, because a threatening base exchange situation. I don't even know if he realizes that these Thors are at his natural, destroying the Zerglings and the reinforcements as they're coming. I assume he knows about it right here. It looks like the Thors, yeah, taking out, and we're back to where we started before, but Planetary Fortress standing, Thors and Vikings on the high ground, taking it off. It looks like 3 Thors still sitting at the natural. Looks like that natural might get taken out. Actually, never mind. Looks like the Roaches are there as well as Zerglings to try to provide kind of a little bit of the defense, but StrieCro, being too distracted on 2 fronts, going to end up losing a lot of these Corruptors, a lot of these Broodlords as well, losing really the huge units he needed to keep alive, and Marines able to clean it up. So yes, the Thors were cleaned up, but at the same time, Axslav's base holds. It looks like he's taking a Planetary Fortress in the upper right, and is really starting to do that Terran bunker style seal up in a fantastic position. StrieCro is just plummeted. Actually, just you can see the exchange of supply counts. It looks like he's rebuilding it rapidly, and he needs to get another attack. Wow, look at the supply, just huge supply hikes on both sides. Perhaps because, well, 1 Thors, but also the Roaches underneath. StrieCro thinking about taking the 9 o'clock slot. It looks like he has a lot of movement towards this, sending in a couple drones as well, opening up the destructible rocks, so he has a closer reinforcement point. 2 Thors moving up to the 3 o'clock as well to at least get that Overlord, maybe to establish some position there. And a lot of Corruptors just hanging out in the middle of the map with some Zerglings, mostly Roaches being produced here by StrieCro, but starports, looks like Vikings, Marines underneath, a very strong anti-Broodlord army, plus there's Thors all over the place. I can't even track them all down. Actually, just looks like there's 3 Thors out in the field, and looks like I've got 2 of them located. There's the 3rd one, not for long. Goodbye. That's going to be it for that. But keep in mind, Planetary Fortresses repaired by Marines against just Zerglings and just even this many Roaches can sometimes not be the best situation. I think this is going to be enough to really wipe all of this out, though, because that is way too many Roaches. So StrieCro just, yeah, going to be able to do tons of damage, but a counterattack now across the middle. Axslav moving his Marines forward to take some territory, to put some threat on, to try to get some, to try to press forward where he can. So Axslav and keep, counterattack and actually hit a hatchery, which is going to be beautiful, completely vulnerable, and in a very, very soft spot. So Vikings overhead to defend against any of those Broodlords, and yeah, that got just bushwhacked almost immediately. Reinforcements flooding across the Roaches and the Corruptors to deal against the Vikings, and probably going to be able to take the Medivacs out as well. Axslav immediately re-expanding to that upper right, realizing that he's got StrieCro on the defensive, trying to go basically catty-corny. These 9 o'clock expansions, very vulnerable, but Roaches and Corruptors moving up. And that's a lot of Roaches. So 9 o'clock base completely sacked. Distance mining for Axslav, because keep in mind he's been in an extremely expensive build. The Roaches just getting pinned a little back. A couple of them distracted, it looks like, on that back corner. And in this fight, looks like Medivacs getting wiped out of the air. Marines underneath, but the Marines actually standing tall somehow. And it looks between Stimpack level 2 weapons, and it's still level 2 weapons for the Roaches. The Marines look like they are winning out, though. 3 Roaches left, 2 Roaches left, and that is it. No Roaches left. So the SCVs stand to, and it looks like I missed more counterattacking across the middle to cut off reinforcements between those. And actually, I'm going to move back again just a second to watch what these Thors do across in the meantime. I'll just do kind of that speed movement until I get back across there. So here's the Thors doing a little their march across the field. Doesn't look like they're getting a lot accomplished here along this back corner, but yeah, they are disrupting a little bit of those reinforcement points, and they are more or less sitting here at the natural expansion while all of this craziness is happening over here. They are starting to back up to rejoin, but man, there's just chaos all over the map right now. StrieCro rebuilding his army, mostly Roaches, and there we go, up the faster. Those Roaches, for a second there, I thought I was on ×2 because those Roaches are hauling so fast. Looks like these Thors just going to get crushed in open field by this Roach army, but the Corruptors still sitting, getting wailed upon by those Marines at the 3 o'clock, or sorry, at the 9 o'clock. Still things looking good for Axslav. He's really cut into StrieCro's harvester count, and at the same time he's expanding everywhere. It looks like he's actually taking that 9 o'clock base, and honestly that he doesn't even need to hold this 9 o'clock base. He just needs to make sure he holds this upper right hand base and keeps that out of StrieCro's hands. StrieCro actually mining here at the 6 o'clock, getting more spine crawlers, and actually it might suit him well just to get some more harvesters really fast. More engagement, more overlords getting caught in open field by, it looks like, the Hellions that are still left over somehow, and Marines as well. It looks like they're going to stim pack their way back out of this, and maybe not. Well, nope, looks like they're going to get out of that. But Axslav looks like he somehow established the upper left-hand corner of the map. StrieCro controls the bottom right. Really intense match. I still can't believe Axslav is still in this. StrieCro has made really good strides to kind of crack the armor, but again, I feel like it's just been the upgrade different, which has actually now been crossed, but it might be too late for StrieCro. Level 3 weapons, but right now, economically, 48 harvesters versus 78. It's not showing up that much in the income. Well, significantly. It looks like it's now starting to kick in the income tab, probably because of the mules, and this is going to get even worse if Axslav can hold this 9 o'clock base for any significant period of time. Looks like some zerglings getting cleared off this Zelnaga watchtower. Looks like planetary fortress defense up there with those SCVs. It's a defense unto itself. So StrieCro really needs to choose his battles very carefully here, and it's odd considering what was a very slow, very large, very cumbersome army for Axslav. Usually doesn't lend itself to map control. Usually big fight engaging. It looks like Corruptors dying overhead are able to take out the medevacs. Broodlords cleaning up the Marines underneath. Thors looks like they're getting taken out by the Roaches to follow it up, and the Thors actually running for their lives. So Axslav actually losing an army here. Still has that 9 o'clock planetary fortress up though. And it looks like he's able to defend it, but Roach is actually pressing forward. Need to be a little bit careful because that planetary fortress can still do some damage here and really be harassing. It looks like another Roach getting fried at that planetary fortress and still trying to do that trick it was doing earlier and just harassing at that corner. Looks like the 9 o'clock base very vulnerable here. There should be, with those Broodlords, there should be plenty to take this out, but Axslav might be able to cycle back around with a couple Marines, maybe a couple Thors to try to defend it. Looks like he's definitely fielding an army to do so. Here comes the engagement. Everything running in. Roaches, Broodlords. Maybe this will even things up economically. This is going to be a huge fight. StrieCro has to win this to stay in the match. And if he doesn't, it's really going to be a desperate situation. Marines coming in from above. Some Thors engaging against the Roaches across StrieCro's reinforcements. It looks like still SCVs repairing. All the Roaches getting taken out. They're trying to regroup to engage the Thors from behind as well as those Marines, but the Broodlords have been taken out somehow between the Marines as well as the Thors. That planetary fortress still standing. StrieCro taking a ton of damage, and Axslav just positioning his troops beautifully, sneaking in a couple more Roaches to try to do some damage, but it doesn't look like it's happening with that planetary fortress in the way. Some drones actually in that fight as well, and they're not going to last very long. So StrieCro losing that match. He's in a very desperate situation now. Is being locked out of all sorts of resources. In the meantime, more or less, Axslav is sitting on a huge bank. It looks like he's actually down to 118 supply, but he's been recovering that very rapidly. His forces are just big and broody and just scary to look at. Looks like the Roach is still getting a little bit accomplished here against this planetary fortress, whittling away what they can, which is actually significant. If every harvester counts, even a single Roach sacrifice almost seems worth it at this stage. Axslav moving into the bottom left-hand corner. StrieCro has very little defended, is evacuating. He's now at one mining base and one mining base only, trying to run up with some contaminate with some Roaches to try to take out this planetary fortress and at least go with a base exchange. But unfortunately, this 9 o'clock base is still going to be running for Axslav. It looks like he's still having difficulty taking this out. So SCV's not there to repair. Might be able to finally take it out with some of these Roaches, which, keep in mind, even do bonus damage, I think, still against buildings like this. But wow, the planetary fortress still cutting into those forces significantly. More Thors just cutting off reinforcements and troops that are moving around there. SCV's distance mining in the bottom left. Looks like a couple of those Corruptors going to be able to escape some of that turret fire. That upper right has been taken out. This will open up the 3 o'clock for StrieCro. But wow, very desperate situation for him. He needs to get more resources. He needs to get his army count up desperately. And still, the Thors sit. It looks like plenty of medevacs as well as Vikings and a lot of Marines. And it looks like all of them fairly, except for the Vikings, very heavily upgraded. Another command center being built, a single Roach, I assume for just scouting purposes up there. But yeah, StrieCro needs to strike with what he has, and he needs to do it now. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a lot of troops to his name. He's got 43. He has 43 harvesters, 6 zerglings, 15 Roaches, and not a lot else. And that's not a lot when you talk about all of the Thors comparatively, the Marines, the Vikings, the Medivacs, just a very scary army. It looks like he is going to try to, wow, he's going to actually try to take the top right, try to get Axslav to come to him, but it looks like Axslav is happy to do so. On the opposite side of the map is going to probably very rapidly take out this spine crawler. You could just actually let it die and it would be easily dispatched. 6 o'clock location though is a marching front directly to all of his tech, and I don't think he can stop the march once it heads that direction. In the meantime, Axslav can just sit on his planetary fortress defense at opposing locations. In the meantime, wow, that's a lot of SCV saturation. Woo, that's a lot of SCV saturation. Axslav in a really nice situation here, still has a significant harvester lead. Baneling nest now to try to clear out those Marines, and I'm going to try, it looks like it's right there at the 1 mining base left. I guess if you're going to defend, you might as well, well actually 2 mining bases. If you're going to defend, you might as well do it to the kind of critical location. Thors, Vikings, Marines pressing up, plenty of medevacs overhead, centrifugal hooks on the way, but I don't think they're going to be there by the time this engagement happens. StrieCro still very low as far as the overall unit count goes. He's, wow, almost, wow, oof, about 80 behind for a second there. Looks like he's 60 behind now and dropping. Axslav marching in directly to his territory, precisely what he wants really, but it's still going to be difficult to engage this. Thor's right there, Baneling's running up. Will he be able to catch a lot of the Marines? Catching some of the Marines, but not as many as he wanted, and as a result he's going to have to GG. Well played by both players. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, look for fun stuff in the future. And again, if you know anything about equalization, let me know, or SOX equalization specifically. Be very, very helpful. And if you want to talk to me, I have forums actually up. If you go to forums.jo.to, to like the short word TO, I'll be putting up topics there for people to read and chat on. Yeah, thanks for listening, guys.